Whether you look at the film or the data, it is clear that Will Levis is having a breakout. I'll explain on today's edition of Locked On Titans.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the second half of the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Will Levis is having a breakout moment. We're going to talk about what's going on. Also, a lot of you guys owe Brian Callahan an apology and Rand Carthon as well. Before we get into it, do want to thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. You're not going to beat that anywhere else. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. And speaking of every day, shout out to my everydayers out there tuning in Monday through Friday. Couldn't do it without you guys. If you aren't an everydayer, you need to be one, because tomorrow's show, I'm going to be predicting the Tennessee Titans record the rest of the way. Playoffs? Let's not get too crazy. Then we'll have crossover Thursday with David Harrison from Locked On Commanders, and then I'll have my game plan preview episode for you guys, getting you ready for Sunday. But with that being said, again, Will Levis is having somewhat of a breakout right now, and it's not just compared to previous Will Levis. It's compared to the people in his draft class. It's compared to other people within the NFL as well. And like I said, whether you want to look at the film, which I have broken down the film on Will Levis's performances from the last 3 weeks and just got done getting out of the film from this week's game, whether you want to look at the data and the stats, it's all there in front of you. And we will start with some of the numbers here that kind of highlight how well Will Levis is playing in his last 3 games. And remember, Texans defense, Vikings defense, Chargers defense. We're talking about 3 top 10 defenses in the NFL that are fearsome. 67% completion percentage, 748 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, a 109.3 passer rating. There are the 2 interceptions. The 1 interception was at the end of the Vikings game, though. He was, that's not like a bad interception. The only interception really that he had during that stretch was the pick 6 against the Texans. And his bounce back from that to lead the team to a victory is one of my favorite moments of his career so far, is him bouncing back from the bad play, which he doesn't normally do. It's a sign of growth. He's also taken the 20 sacks during that time, which is far and away the biggest issue with his game going forward. Look, the stupid turnovers at the beginning of the season, we're seeing him clean those up. That's not as big of an issue, but the pocket presence and all that. And we'll talk about the sacks here at the end of this discussion. But overall, again, 67% completion, 748 yards, almost 250 a game, 5 touchdowns, 109.3 passer rating. Like, it's really great stuff against 3 top 10 defenses. Also, you look at Will Levis over the last 3 weeks. He's had over 105 passer rating. I said it's 109. He's been sacked 20 times. He is the first quarterback since the NFL merger in 1970 to have over a 105 passer rating while getting sacked 20 times. Like, even despite the biggest flaw in his game and the Titans' offensive line struggles, Will Levis is still playing outstanding football. And you look at his draft class, which a lot of people compare him to. It's obviously always a conversation. That includes C.J. Stroud. That includes Anthony Richardson. And since October, Will Levis has by far the best passer rating of any quarterback that was drafted in the first 2 rounds, or in the entire draft class, really, from his 2023 class. His passer rating since October is a 97.4. Bryce Young is number 2 at 83. C.J. Stroud is an 81, and Anthony Richardson can barely complete passes. He's below that. So, I mean, like, the numbers are all there for you. And a lot of people were complaining at the beginning of the year, Will Levis has regressed. He doesn't throw it deep anymore. Will Levis on passes 10 plus yards or more against the Texans, 9 for 9, 159 yards and a touchdown, a 155.8 passer rating on passes over 10 yards. I mean, that is quite impressive. And then you go to the film, which I'm going to do a Will Levis film breakdown. It's going to be out on Tuesday morning on the Tic Tac Titans film channel. The link to subscribe to that channel is down below in the description. Whether you're on YouTube, podcast platform, doesn't matter. The link is in the description of the episode to go get subscribed to my film channel. But the NWI TD, red cover 4, saw the safety pull up on NWI before he cut it back deep, lays a perfect pass out to him for a touchdown. The bomb to Calvin Ridley. The Texans are in cover 3. They're rolling their safeties. The backside safety where Calvin Ridley comes from. Calvin Ridley runs a deep post route. Will Levis read the coverage perfectly. Laid a perfect ball out to Calvin Ridley, 63 yards. On a critical third down, it was second and 20. Second and 28, I think it was. 19-yard pass to NWI perfectly on the sideline, and then follows it up with the Calvin Ridley bomb. And what does that turn into? Turn into a touchdown drive. I mean, it's the Chigakonkwo touchdown where he rolls out just a little bit. Perfect strike to Chigakonkwo to allow him to catch the ball and turn upfield. He had another play in the fourth quarter where he rolled out to his left, crossbody throw, and threw it to Calvin Ridley on a 2nd and long to get a first down. I mean, he's throwing lasers all over the field. And look, we could talk about the sacks. Let's talk about the sacks. There were 8 sacks in the game. And by my count, J.C. Latham was responsible for 3 of them. This is after breaking down the film. J.C. Latham was responsible for 3. NPF was technically responsible for 2. But one of them, I think, Will Levis could have helped him out a little bit. Even his first sack, that when NPF got beat, maybe Levis could have helped him out a little bit. But I would say that NPF is responsible for 2. J.C. Latham is responsible for 3. And then one of them was a coverage sack, and one of them was a busted screen. And the coverage sack is one of the NPF ones. NPF got beat, but the Texans had it completely covered. So realistically, Will Levis was responsible for 2. 2 of those sacks, he ran up into the pressure. 2 out of the 8. 2 out of the 8. So is Will Levis perfect? Is he an elite quarterback? Is he a finished product? No. But the improvement that we're seeing from Will Levis over this 3-week stretch against 3 top 10 defenses, like you look at the schedule going forward, Commanders are a good team, but Jags, the Bengals are in there. Play the Jags again, get the Colts again. Another game with the Texans. Like, I'm going to predict the Titans record the rest of the season on tomorrow's show. Make sure that you don't miss that. But I'm just saying, the defenses aren't going to quite be what they have been the last 3 weeks. And I'm excited to see what Will Levis, and not only Will Levis, but what Brian Callahan can cook up, because a lot of you guys owe Brian Callahan quite the apology. Before we get into it, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Skylight. So, if you're missing someone this holiday season and you want them to be a part of your festivities from afar, Skylight is the way to go. Maybe gift giving isn't your love language. You overthink it. You wind up getting something disappointing or nothing at all. But if you come from a big family, it can be hard and expensive to buy each one a personal gift for the holidays. So here's what you do. We got the perfect gift for you. It's Skylight Frame. It's a touchscreen digital photo frame your whole family will love. Upload thousands of photos right from your phone and watch them appear in seconds. It's so easy. You can set it up again in 60 seconds or less. You can seamlessly share photos from your phone to the Skylight mobile app, straight to the picture frame. You can add new photos constantly from anywhere, so you can always update it. And now, as a special limited time offer for my listeners, you can get $20 off your purchase of the Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframe.com/NFL. That's SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/NFL and get $20 off your purchase now at skylightframe.com/NFL. Again, get $20 off Skylight Frame at skylightframe.com/NFL. Also want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Look, get ready to tackle the last third of the NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play and so much more on the same exact page where you place your bets on FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Again, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about Will Levis having a little bit of a breakout in front of our eyes, whether it be on film, whether it be statistically. He is just doing some really, really impressive things. But now I want to give some praise to Brian Callahan. And a lot of people owe Brian Callahan an apology in reality because, he's cooking. He's cooking things up right now. The Titans are improving as a team. The culture in the building is still good despite the record. A lot of great things going. Before I dive in, thanks again for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. But I just want to point out some things. Brian Callahan has led this team to score 30 points 2 times this season. After going nearly 3 straight seasons without scoring 30 points, Brian Callahan has done it twice this year. Despite the team being 3-8. Despite the team being 3-8. The Titans have had better records in the past and not had as good of an offense. So, with the way that this team is set up, with the quarterback play what it was early in the season, trading DeAndre Hopkins, Treylon Burks being out for all eternity, the offensive line struggles early in the year, the right tackle struggles that continue to happen, the turnover issues, the special teams problem, all of that stuff. And Callahan has still been able to get this team to score 30 points twice. And quite honestly, they could have put even more on the Texans if not for Will Levis threw that pick 6, and it was first down on like the 40-yard line. They should have at least gotten a field goal out of that drive. And then the Tony Pollard fumble happened in Texans territory. They should have at least gotten a field goal on that drive. The Titans could have won this game by double digits if they didn't have the turnovers. So I just continue to see on tape wide open players. I see Brian Callahan making adjustments, scheming up plays against certain coverage looks that you're going to get from the other team. And he talked about it in his press conference. On the NWI touchdown, that was an adjustment to the NWI touchdown against the Chargers. The Titans made a slight adjustment of having NWI cut in just a little bit to mess up the cover 4 assignment. So what happened is the Texans were in cover 4. Okay, and in cover 4, what most teams do is they play a match version of cover 4 where the 2 safeties in the middle, after the routes are declared, they basically go into man coverage. If a crossing route comes, the backside safety will pick it up and run with it. If there's a deep post, the inside safety will pick it up and run with it and abandon their zone, but turn it into man coverage essentially after the routes are declared. Well, the Titans knew that because Brian Callahan was studying, and he even said, we got the coverage look that we expected to get. He knew the tendencies of the Houston Texans, knew what was coming, and called the perfect play to get the Titans on the board with a touchdown. He knew that the inside quarter safety was going to bite when NWI comes up, he cuts inside, and the Texans defender thinks that he's going to try to wrap around a linebacker. Nope. Safety comes down, NWI goes right past him. And Will Levis is prepared by the coaching to read the defense and make the pass. You move forward. On the Calvin Ridley deep bomb for 63 yards. Shout out to Hayden Winks from Underdog. He pointed this out on Sunday night with the tape, but Brian Callahan had 4 eligible receivers on one side of the ball. Do you know how rare it is to see an NFL team put 4 eligible targets on one side of the ball? That's a college thing. That does not happen in the NFL. But he had 4 eligible receivers, 3 wide receivers. Well, I think one of them was Chigakonkwo. But he had 3 targets, and then Tony Pollard, all on one side of the ball. And why did he do that? Because what was going to happen is it was going to keep the backside where there was only 1 eligible receiver. It was going to keep them down. The coverage on that side was going to be intermediate or lower. And then it was going to get Calvin Ridley one-on-one with a deep safety. And what did I tell you on the game plan episode on Friday? If you are not tuning into the game plan episodes, then you are missing out. Because I told you that the vulnerabilities of the Houston Texans are their interior offensive line and their safeties. And Callahan attacked their safeties all game long. Baited them. Knew what coverages they were going to be in. Knew exactly what plays they were going to run on which downs and distances. Callahan is starting to figure everything out. And this is the offense. This is the type of offense that we all hoped for when he was hired. He is a rookie head coach. There were huge issues, not only with the coaching, but with the play of the players on the field too early in the season. But this team is way better than their record. And Brian Callahan is way better of a coach than a lot of you people gave him credit for. Calling for him to be fired. He's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's in over his head. He was responsible for a couple of losses in the middle of the season. That Colts game, I would say the Jets game, there were mistakes made. But Callahan is going to be fine. And I've continued to say that throughout the season. He is going to be fine, and we are seeing him start to dial in. The adjustment on the Chigakonkwo touchdown. Chigakonkwo goes for 70 yards. Brian Callahan talked about it in the press conference on Sunday. Typically, Chigakonkwo is on the backside running a crossing route. Typically, Chigakonkwo would stay in for a little bit and seal in the defensive end on his side and help the tackle and then get out into his route. But Brian Callahan told Chigakonkwo, don't do that on this one. Get out. Just get into your route immediately. Make the adjustment. During the game, make the adjustment. And what did it turn into? Chigakonkwo wide open because the linebackers were completely fooled, and a 70-yard touchdown that ultimately won the game for the Titans. And not only that, but Brian Callahan hired Dennard Wilson, who, my God, Dennard Wilson was a madman in this game. Multiple plays in the red zone. He dropped Jeffrey Simmons and T'Vondre Sweat back into coverage. And last week, everyone was crying about that. And then both times that they did it in this game, they stopped the Texans from getting a touchdown in the red zone. And then the last time that they did it was on the last red zone stop of the game. And it allowed Arden Key to be a free rusher because the guard, number 70, Juice Scruggs from the Texans, he thought that Jeffrey Simmons was coming in on pressure. And then Simmons dropped back. And 70 was caught off guard, and Arden Key blows right by him. Free runner on C.J. Stroud. Stroud has to throw the ball away, forces a field goal. Field goal missed. Tennessee Titans win. And according to Next Gen Stats, the Titans defense had 7 unblocked pressures against C.J. Stroud. That's the 5th most of any team in the NFL all season. Brian Callahan hired, if you're going to hate on Brian Callahan, for hiring Colt Anderson, which I get it. I get it. That's a big, big black eye. You got to give him credit for hiring Dennard Wilson, who has the #1 pass defense in the NFL. Think if I told you this time last year, that next year the Titans are going to have the #1 pass defense in the NFL without L'Jarius Sneed, without Cheeto Awuzie, without Amani Hooker in this game. The Titans had Jarvis Brownlee Jr., a 5th-round rookie. Darrell Baker Jr., a guy that they claimed off the Colts secondary. The Colts might have the worst secondary in the league. A cast off from that group. No Amani Hooker, Mike Brown. No Quandre Diggs. No Elijah Molden. Whatever, Jamal Adams, but still, that was a guy they were counting on, and he's out. With Daryl Worley. And the Titans have the #1 pass defense in the NFL because Brian Callahan made an excellent hire to bring on Dennard Wilson. He's a rookie head coach. He had his struggles. He is getting better every single week, just like Will Levis. And a lot of you guys owe Brian Callahan a major apology. Also, Ran Carthon, which I don't know how you could possibly look at what Ran Carthon has done and have any complaints about him. So we're going to talk about that right now. Before I get into it, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Hillsdale College. History, economics, the great works of literature, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution. Did you study these things in school? Probably not. But even if you did, maybe it's time for a refresher. Time and technology have changed a lot of things, but they have not changed basic fundamental truths about the world and our place in it. Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free. That's 40 free online courses, including Constitution 101, Introduction to Free Market Economics, The Great American Story, A Land of Hope, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Republic. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever, tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about Will Levis having a breakout moment here in the back half of the season. Brian Callahan starting to finally cook with this team. And now we got to go even higher with Ran Carthon, who takes unnecessary flack from a lot of folks in the fan base. And I just don't understand. Before we get into it, thanks again for making Locked On Titans your first to listen each and every day. Remember, tomorrow I'm going to be predicting the Titans record the rest of the season. But for your second listen today, check out Locked On NFL. I'm the lead host of Locked On NFL, so you get your Titans news here with me in under 30 minutes. Get your NFL news with me in under 30 minutes as well at the Locked On NFL podcast. It's free. It's on all platforms, and it's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. But just want to talk about some of the things that Ran Carthon has done for this team in his 2 years of being the general manager. All right. And really, last year he was under Mike Vrabel's thumb. So, make of that what you will. But Peter Skoronski, who I saw earlier this year, people say he's a bust, drafted a crappy guard in the first round, all of that. Okay. All right, cool. Well, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but in the last 7 weeks, Peter Skoronski has given up 9 pressures and 1 sack in 7 weeks. Peter Skoronski had maybe his best game of pass protection of his entire career against the Houston Texans, who put Danico Autry on the interior, who have Tim Settles Jr., who's a great interior rusher, like Danielle Hunter stunts inside, Will Anderson stunts inside. There's one play, and I forget exactly which play it was, but it was one of Will Levis's good plays from the game. I think it was the Calvin Ridley bomb. It was the 63-yard bomb to Calvin Ridley. Danielle Hunter stunts inside, and Peter Skoronski stones him. Done. DOA. Dead on arrival. Nothing. Peter Skoronski gave up 0 pressures, 0 sacks against one of the best defensive lines, maybe the best pass rushing defensive line in the entire NFL. Bust. Yeah, shut up. All right. Peter Skoronski, balling. Good job, Carthon. A first-round pick that's good. Titans fans complain. Yeah, right. That's what we've been begging for. And then think, Will Levis starting to break out, starting to show some things, some signs of life for Will Levis. Carthon got him in the second round, while the Colts paid a 4th overall pick for Anthony Richardson, who Will Levis is better than Anthony Richardson. Like, it's right now through 2 years, not even a question. Will Levis is better than Anthony Richardson. And the Titans got him 30 picks later. And they got Levis and Skoronski for cheaper than Anthony Richardson. Good job, Carthon, right? Right? I know that Tajay Spears has been banged up, but a solid role player. Then you come to this year. Titans' first-round picks always suck. J.C. Latham has been excellent. I know he had his worst game of the season against Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. But think about the season in totality. J.C. Latham has been great. A first-round pick that plays all the time and is your best offensive lineman. I mean, what more could we ask for? You go to the second-round pick. T'Vondre Sweat was dominant yesterday. Him and Jeffrey Simmons on the interior, they held the Texans to 14 carries for Joe Mixon for 22 yards. T'Vondre Sweat got a sack. I mean, what a running mate for Jeffrey Simmons. Incredible pick. Despite my objections, an incredible pick. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. I remember when Kevin Byard was traded for a 5th and a 6th round pick, and everybody said, what's a 5th round pick going to be? Titans suck at drafting. Well, that 5th round pick turned into Jarvis Brownlee Jr. And guess what? Jarvis Brownlee Jr. is a better football player right now than Kevin Byard is. Maybe Carthon knows what he's doing. Huh? Maybe. Now, let's go to the back end of the roster. Think about some of the pickups that Carthon has made this season. Worley, who had a good game yesterday for the Titans, starting at safety. Ali Gay, the edge rusher. We're going to cut Rashad Weaver, a John Robinson guy. We're going to bring in Ali Gay. Ali Gay made one of the most important plays of the game yesterday when he sacked C.J. Stroud in the 4th quarter. Ali Gay. Who? Ali Gay. James Lynch. The Titans lose a ton of depth on the interior defensive line. We'll go pluck James Lynch. See what he does. James Lynch has been solid depth on the interior defensive line, a position that I've been worried about for months. James Lynch, cooking. Full-time roster guy? No, but that's the point. That's the point. Good job, Carthon. What a find at the back end of the roster. Darrell Baker Jr. Again, I talked about it earlier. They took him off the Colts, who have a terrible secondary. And Darrell Baker Jr. has been phenomenal for the Titans. Phenomenal. He was their highest graded player last week against the Vikings. Crazy. And then you look at the free agent signings. Calvin Ridley, explosive, crazy weapon. On the touchdown to Chikakonkwo, 2 defensive backs, the safety and Derek Stingley Jr., both went with Calvin Ridley, and that's why Chikakonkwo was so open on that side of the field, because Calvin Ridley not only can have 5 catches for 93 yards and change the game, but he can also get his teammates open. And they stole him from Jacksonville in a crazy free agent process. Tony Pollard, the MVP of the entire team. Tony Pollard, free agent signing, Carthon. Sebastian Joseph Day, great depth on the interior. Good job, Carthon. He brought back NWI. He brought back Daniel Brunskill How important is bringing back Daniel Brunskill right now? He brought back Nick Folk. $3.5 million. Nick Folk, 3 50-yard field goals yesterday. Anybody see that? So, the Kevin Byard trade to get Jarvis Brownlee Jr., trading DeAndre Hopkins for a potential 4th-round pick, the Ernest Jones flip to turn a 5th-round pick into a 4th, a 6th, and Jerome Baker in season. If you're hating on Rand Carthon, you're out of your flipping mind. Patience, folks. This organization is going in the right direction. And all of the excitement that you felt in the offseason when all this stuff was happening, it's going to pay off. Just hold on. We're going home. With that being said, though, again, I'm predicting the Titans record the rest of the way on tomorrow's show. Make sure you check that out. That's going to do it for me today, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.